Competence and self-discipline are two of the most powerful traits a person can develop. They are the foundation of respect, both from others and from yourself. When you are highly competent, people are forced to take you seriously, regardless of whether they like you or not. When you possess self-discipline, you demonstrate control over your actions, emotions, and decisions, making you less susceptible to manipulation and disrespect. These qualities command authority and create an unshakable sense of self-worth that cannot be easily undermined by others. If you want to handle people who do not respect you, mastering competence and self-discipline is not just helpful, it is essential. Competence begins with skill. The more skilled you are in your profession, craft, or personal endeavors, the more leverage you have in any situation. When you are good at what you do, people have no choice but to acknowledge your value. This is especially important in environments where respect is not freely given. In the workplace, for example, being highly competent protects you from being easily dismissed or ignored. A person with undeniable expertise carries an aura of authority, making it difficult for others to treat them with disrespect. In any setting, the best way to silence those who underestimate you is through excellence. However, competence is not just about technical skill. It is also about knowledge, wisdom, and the ability to navigate complex situations. A well-informed person is difficult to manipulate or deceive. When you understand the dynamics of a situation, you can anticipate challenges, outthink opponents, and respond with precision rather than emotion. This is why lifelong learning is crucial. Those who continuously improve their knowledge and abilities become forces to be reckoned with. They do not need to demand respect. They earn it through their capabilities. Self-discipline, on the other hand, is what allows you to maintain and enhance your competence over time. Without discipline, talent and intelligence go to waste. Self-discipline is the ability to do what needs to be done, even when you do not feel like doing it. It is waking up early to train, studying when others are relaxing, and maintaining composure when others lose control. A disciplined person does not act based on impulse or emotion. They act based on principles and long-term goals. This makes them incredibly difficult to manipulate, intimidate, or undermine. One of the key benefits of self-discipline is emotional control. Many people lose respect in the eyes of others because they react impulsively to situations. They get easily provoked, lash out in anger, or crumble under pressure. A person with strong self-discipline, however, remains composed. They do not allow others to dictate their emotional state. When faced with disrespect, they do not overreact or seek validation. They respond strategically, maintaining their power in the interaction. Self-discipline also creates consistency, and consistency builds credibility. People respect those who follow through on their commitments, who show up every day, and who demonstrate reliability. When you are disciplined, you do not need to explain yourself or prove your worth to anyone. Your actions do it for you. Over time, people learn that you are someone who can be counted on, and that reliability translates into respect. Another important aspect of self-discipline is setting high personal standards. A person who holds themselves to a high standard naturally commands more respect than someone who accepts mediocrity. This applies to everything: your work ethic, your physical health, your communication, and even your appearance. When you take care of yourself and operate with excellence, you set an example that others recognize, even if they do not openly acknowledge it. Competence and self-discipline also contribute to an unshakable sense of self-respect. When you know you are skilled, disciplined, and in control of your life, the opinions of others lose their power over you. Disrespect from others becomes insignificant when you have a strong internal foundation. You no longer seek external validation because your confidence comes from within. This makes you immune to the tactics of those who try to diminish or undermine you. Ultimately, people who master competence and self-discipline do not need to demand respect. It is given to them naturally. They become individuals of substance, people whose words and actions carry weight. They are not easily swayed by insults, criticism, or temporary setbacks because they operate from a place of internal strength. If you want to ensure that people respect you, or at the very least cannot dismiss you, then focus on developing your skills, refining your discipline, and maintaining control over yourself. In the end, respect is not something you chase. It is something you command through the undeniable proof of your competence and self-mastery. Self-respect is the foundation upon which external respect is built. If you do not respect yourself, it is unlikely that others will. People take their cues from how you treat yourself. Your actions, choices, and demeanor send a clear message about your level of self-worth. When you hold yourself to a high standard, refuse to tolerate disrespect, and carry yourself with dignity, others respond in kind. The way you perceive yourself influences the way the world perceives you. At its core, self-respect is about valuing yourself enough to set firm boundaries. People who lack self-respect often tolerate poor treatment, make endless excuses for others, and fail to stand up for themselves. They operate from a place of fear of rejection, fear of conflict, or fear of being alone. This fear leads them to accept disrespect because they believe it is better than losing a relationship or facing confrontation. But the truth is, the more you tolerate disrespect, the more you invite it. When you allow people to mistreat you without consequence, you communicate that you do not value yourself. And if you do not value yourself, why should anyone else? On the other hand, a person with strong self-respect does not beg for approval, chase after people who disregard them, or tolerate mistreatment for the sake of keeping the peace. They do not shrink themselves to fit into spaces where they are not valued. Instead, they set clear boundaries and enforce them without hesitation. If someone disrespects them, they make it known, either through direct communication or by distancing themselves from the situation. They do not need to explain themselves repeatedly or plead for basic decency. Their actions alone make it clear. Respect is a requirement, not a request. People are naturally drawn to those who carry themselves with confidence and self-assurance. When you respect yourself, you exude an aura of strength that others notice. You do not have to demand respect verbally because it is reflected in the way you speak, the way you move, and the way you interact with the world. People can sense when someone is self-assured, and they respond accordingly. Even those who may not like you will be forced to acknowledge and respect you because they recognize that you will not tolerate anything less. Another crucial aspect of self-respect is maintaining your dignity in all situations. This means not lowering yourself to engage in petty arguments, not seeking revenge when wronged, and not allowing emotions to dictate your actions. A person with self-respect remains composed and in control, even in the face of disrespect. They do not allow others to drag them down to a level of desperation or insecurity. Instead, they handle situations with poise and maturity, reinforcing their value without needing external validation. Self-respect also influences the way you take care of yourself. This includes your physical health, mental well-being, and personal development. A person who respects themselves does not engage in self-destructive habits, neglect their responsibilities, or allow themselves to stagnate. They invest in their growth, set goals, and work toward becoming the best version of themselves. This level of discipline and self-care commands admiration and respect from others. People respect those who have control over their lives and who continuously strive for excellence. In relationships, self-respect sets the tone for how you are treated. If you respect yourself, you will not allow yourself to be used, manipulated, or taken for granted. You will not chase after people who show no interest in reciprocating your effort. Instead, you will align yourself with those who recognize your worth and treat you accordingly. When you hold yourself in high regard, you attract people who do the same. The quality of your relationships improves because you no longer settle for anything less than what you deserve. In professional settings, self-respect translates into confidence and assertiveness. People who respect themselves do not downplay their achievements. hesitate to speak up or allow others to undermine them. They know their value and are not afraid to advocate for themselves. They do not seek approval or permission to take up space. They operate with the certainty that they belong. This self-assuredness earns them the respect of colleagues, superiors, and peers. Ultimately, self-respect is not about arrogance or superiority. It is about knowing your worth and refusing to compromise it. It is about setting standards for yourself and upholding them, even when it is difficult. It is about walking away from people and situations that do not align with your values, knowing that your peace of mind is more important than temporary validation. When you cultivate self-respect, you do not have to demand respect from others. It comes naturally. People recognize strength, confidence, and integrity, and they respond with admiration and deference. Respect is not something you beg for. It is something you embody. And when you respect yourself, the world follows suit. Words are not merely sounds that emerge from our mouths or symbols we arrange on a page. They are potent tools that shape perception, define relationships, and create or destroy the emotional landscapes of those around us. Human beings are linguistic creatures, deeply affected by the words they hear, the words they internalize, and the words they choose to believe. An intelligent person understands this truth at a fundamental level. They recognize that every word carries weight and that what is said, especially in moments of vulnerability, can alter the course of a relationship, a decision, or even a life. Consider the way a single phrase can change a person's entire day. A careless remark about someone's appearance, intellect, or abilities can linger in their mind for hours, days, even years. People are not purely rational beings. We are emotional creatures with memories that replay certain words like a song stuck on repeat. When a person is told they are not good enough, not attractive enough, not capable enough, that message embeds itself deep in their subconscious. It becomes part of their self-narrative, often influencing their actions and self-perception in ways they might not even realize. Now, take this understanding into the realm of relationships, particularly in communication between a man and a woman. The way a man speaks to a woman can affect her sense of self, her trust, and her perception of the relationship. Words can offer security, reassurance, and encouragement, or they can plant seeds of doubt, insecurity, and fear. An intelligent person does not simply say what is on their mind without regard for the impact of those words. They recognize that truth, while important, must be handled with care. Truth without wisdom can be destructive. Imagine telling someone a brutally honest opinion without considering how it might affect them. "You look tired today" might seem like a neutral observation, but to the person hearing it, it might reinforce insecurities they already feel. That idea isn't very smart, might be factually accurate in a given context, but spoken without tact, it does not lead to growth, it leads to discouragement. Words have the ability to uplift or to wound, to construct or to dismantle, and once spoken, they cannot be retrieved. There is a reason why people remember insults more than compliments, why a single negative comment can overshadow a dozen positive ones. This is because human beings are wired for survival. We are attuned to threats, including social and emotional threats. A harsh criticism, an unkind remark, or an implication of inadequacy can be perceived as a form of rejection. And rejection, whether social, emotional, or intellectual, is one of the most painful experiences a person can endure. An intelligent person, therefore, is not just mindful of what is true, but also of what is necessary to say and in what manner. This does not mean one should lie or withhold important truths. On the contrary, honesty is a pillar of strong relationships. However, honesty must always be paired with empathy and responsibility. It is not enough to say, "I was just being honest," after making a cruel remark. That is not intelligence. That is an abdication of responsibility for one's impact on others. A truly intelligent person understands that the manner in which truth is delivered determines whether it is constructive or destructive. When speaking to a woman, this understanding becomes even more critical. Women, like all people, seek validation, connection, and security in their relationships. A thoughtless comment can create doubt where there was once confidence, tension where there was once ease. An intelligent man knows that his words are not just an expression of his own thoughts, but a force that shapes the environment he shares with his partner. If he constantly critiques, belittles, or dismisses, he is not engaging in intellectual discourse. He is eroding trust. Conversely, if he chooses his words carefully, delivering truth with kindness and encouragement, he creates an environment where both individuals can grow and feel secure. This principle extends beyond romantic relationships. In any interaction, whether with a colleague, a friend, or a stranger, the words a person chooses reveal their character. A person who speaks with awareness and precision commands respect. A person who speaks recklessly may provoke temporary attention, but they ultimately lose credibility and influence. Intelligence is not about speaking the most, but about speaking in a way that creates the greatest positive impact. There is a well-known saying, before you speak, ask yourself, is it true? Is it kind? Is it necessary? While this may sound overly simplistic, it holds a profound truth. An intelligent person understands that just because something can be said does not mean it should be said. They recognize that some truths are best expressed through action rather than words, and that some thoughts are better left unspoken if they serve no constructive purpose. In the end, words are not just reflections of thought, they are the architects of reality. The way a person speaks shapes their relationships, their reputation, and their influence in the world. Intelligence is not just about knowing facts, but about understanding the impact of communication. A truly intelligent person never speaks carelessly because they understand that once words are spoken, they cannot be unheard. A woman's sense of self-worth is one of the most fragile yet powerful aspects of her identity. It shapes how she interacts with the world, how she perceives herself in relationships, and how she responds to challenges. To tell a woman in any way, directly or indirectly, that she is unworthy is not just cruel, it is deeply irresponsible. A truly intelligent person understands that words carry immense weight and that devaluing someone, especially someone they care about, can have long-lasting consequences. Worth is not just an abstract concept. It is the foundation upon which people build their self-esteem, their confidence, and their ability to navigate life with resilience. When a woman feels valued, she carries herself with dignity, engages with others from a place of strength, and pursues her goals without the burden of self-doubt. But when her worth is questioned, especially by someone she trusts, her sense of stability begins to erode. The words a person speaks to her can either reinforce her belief in herself or plant seeds of insecurity that grow over time. Telling a woman she is unworthy does not always come in the form of outright statements. It can be communicated subtly through dismissiveness, through lack of appreciation, through comparison to others, or through withholding respect. A woman who constantly hears that she is too emotional, not good enough, or not as impressive as someone else may not outwardly react, but internally she absorbs these messages. Over time, they shape how she sees herself and how she expects to be treated. An intelligent person understands that relationships, whether romantic, professional, or platonic, are built on mutual respect. Disrespecting a woman's worth, even in small ways, creates an imbalance that damages trust and connection. If a man, for example, repeatedly undermines his partner's achievements or dismisses her contributions, he is not just offering criticism, he is implying that she does not matter as much. If a colleague constantly talks over a woman in meetings or fails to acknowledge her ideas, he is reinforcing the message that her input holds less value. These moments, though they may seem insignificant in isolation, accumulate over time and contribute to a larger pattern of diminishing her sense of importance. This is not to say that a woman, or anyone for that matter, should be shielded from constructive criticism or hard truths. Growth often requires feedback, and honesty is an essential component of any meaningful relationship. However, there is a stark difference between offering guidance and making someone feel lesser. Telling a woman she is unworthy is not about helping her improve. It is about taking something away from her, whether intentionally or not. It is important to recognize that many people, both men and women, internalize messages of unworthiness from a young age. Society often reinforces unrealistic expectations, setting impossible standards for appearance, success, and behavior. Women in particular are frequently subjected to comparisons, whether to celebrities, to peers, or to idealized versions of themselves. An intelligent person understands that adding to this burden is not a demonstration of strength or superiority, it is a failure of character. Instead, they seek to uplift, to encourage, and to remind the people around them of their inherent value. Another critical aspect to consider is the way unworthiness affects behavior. A woman who feels undervalued will eventually withdraw, either emotionally or physically. In relationships, she may stop expressing her thoughts openly, fearing that they will be dismissed. In professional settings, she may hesitate to take risks or speak up, assuming her contributions will not be recognized. The long-term effect of this is not just personal dissatisfaction, it is a loss of potential. People who feel unworthy do not strive for greatness in the same way that those who feel valued do. They hold back. They second-guess themselves, and they settle for less than they deserve. The true mark of intelligence is not just in knowing this reality, but in acting upon it. A person who understands the impact of their words and actions makes a conscious effort to affirm rather than diminish. They recognize that uplifting someone is not about empty flattery or exaggerated praise, but about genuine acknowledgement of their strengths and contributions. They understand that reminding a woman of her worth is not just an act of kindness. It is an investment in her confidence, her growth, and her ability to thrive. Some may argue that people should be responsible for their own self-worth and that no one should rely on external validation. While there is truth to this, it does not absolve individuals of their responsibility to treat others with respect. Everyone has moments of doubt, moments when they question their value. In those moments, the words of others can either reinforce negativity or serve as a lifeline. A truly intelligent person chooses to be the latter. In the end, the way we treat others, especially in our closest relationships, is a reflection of our own character. To tell a woman she is unworthy in any form is not just an insult to her. It is a demonstration of one's own lack of understanding. Intelligence is not about proving superiority. It is about recognizing the value in others and ensuring that our words and actions reflect that recognition. A woman who knows her worth is a force to be reckoned with, and an intelligent person would never be the one to take that away from her. Respect is not something you demand, it's something you command by how you carry yourself and how you allow others to treat you. One of the most fundamental ways to ensure you are treated with dignity is by setting and enforcing clear boundaries. Many people struggle with this because they fear confrontation, rejection, or the discomfort that comes with saying no. But avoiding conflict at the expense of your self-respect is a short-term solution that creates long-term problems. When you allow people to cross your boundaries without consequence, you are essentially teaching them that your limits are negotiable, that your feelings are secondary, and that your presence can be taken for granted. Setting boundaries begins with self-awareness. You must first define what is acceptable to you and what is not. This requires honest introspection. Where do you feel most disrespected in your relationships? Where do people take advantage of you? Where do you suppress your discomfort to avoid tension? Answering these questions gives you clarity on the invisible lines that should not be crossed. If you do not define your own limits, the world will define them for you, and usually not in your favor. Once you've established your boundaries, the next step is communication. Many people assume that others should just know what is inappropriate, but that's a flawed assumption. Different people have different standards, and what seems obviously wrong to you might seem perfectly normal to someone else. This is why boundaries must be explicitly stated. But here's where most people fail. They communicate their boundaries, but don't enforce them. Telling someone, "I don't appreciate being spoken to like that," is useless if the next time they do it, you let it slide. Words without action are meaningless. Enforcing boundaries requires a willingness to impose consequences. This doesn't mean overreacting or becoming aggressive. It means making it clear that there is a cost to ignoring your limits. If someone continually disrespects you, you must be prepared to take action, whether that means distancing yourself, ending the relationship, or, if necessary, directly confronting the behavior. The difficulty here is that enforcing boundaries often makes people uncomfortable. Those who are used to overstepping will resist, sometimes with anger, guilt, tripping, or manipulation. They may call you selfish, difficult, or unreasonable. But consider this: who is truly selfish? The one asking for basic respect, or the one insisting they have the right to disregard your needs? There's another critical point to understand. Boundaries are not about controlling others. They're about controlling yourself. You cannot force someone to respect you, but you can decide what you will tolerate. If you say, "I will not stay in friendships where I am constantly belittled," you are not demanding others change their behavior. You are stating the conditions under which you will engage. This shift in mindset is important. It moves you from a place of powerlessness to a place of control. You are no longer pleading for better treatment. You are defining the standards for your presence in someone's life. Many people avoid setting boundaries because they fear losing relationships, and they're right. Enforcing boundaries will cost you certain relationships. But here's the reality. If someone withdraws from your life simply because you insisted on being treated with respect, that relationship was never built on mutual respect to begin with. The people who truly value you will not be driven away by your standards. They will be drawn to them. In fact, the irony is that the more you enforce boundaries, the more respect you command. People may resist at first, but in the long run, they will take you seriously. Another important aspect of boundary setting is consistency. If you enforce a boundary one day but let it slide the next, you send mixed signals. People will test your limits, consciously or unconsciously, to see if you truly mean what you say. If your actions are inconsistent, they will conclude that your boundaries are flexible. This is why it's crucial to stand firm, even when it's inconvenient or uncomfortable. Setting and enforcing boundaries is not just about external relationships, it also affects how you see yourself. When you uphold your standards, you reinforce your self-worth. You send a message to yourself that your time, energy, and well-being matter. Over time, this builds confidence, self-respect, and a stronger sense of identity. Ultimately, boundaries are not about pushing people away. They are about defining the conditions under which healthy, respectful relationships can thrive. They separate those who genuinely value you from those who merely seek to use you. They create an environment where you are not constantly drained, disrespected, or taken advantage of. Most importantly, they remind you and everyone around you that your dignity is non-negotiable. Communication is one of the most powerful tools available to any individual. The way you articulate your thoughts, express your boundaries, and convey your expectations can determine whether people take you seriously or dismiss you outright. Many people struggle with communication because they lack clarity, speak in vague terms, or allow emotions to dictate their words. When dealing with individuals who do not respect you, the ability to communicate with precision is crucial. It ensures that your message is not only heard, but understood and acknowledged. Precision in communication begins with knowing exactly what you want to say. Many people engage in conversations without fully understanding their own thoughts. They react impulsively, speak in generalizations, or use ambiguous language that leaves too much room for misinterpretation. If you cannot articulate your position with clarity, you cannot expect others to understand or respect it. This is why thinking before speaking is essential. Before addressing an issue, ask yourself, what is the core of the problem? What behavior specifically bothers me? What outcome do I want from this conversation? These questions refine your message and prevent unnecessary confusion. One of the most damaging mistakes in communication is allowing emotion to override clarity. When people feel disrespected, their instinct is often to react emotionally, raising their voice, becoming defensive, or using exaggerated statements. While emotions are valid, they can cloud the message and make it easier for others to dismiss your concerns. Instead of saying, "You never listen to me," a precise communicator would say, "In our last 3 meetings, I've shared my input, but I feel it hasn't been acknowledged. Can we discuss how we can improve our dialogue?" Notice the difference. The first statement is reactive and vague, while the second is factual, specific, and solution-oriented. People respect those who can express themselves without resorting to unnecessary dramatics. Another key component of precision is choosing words carefully. Words carry weight, and how you phrase your thoughts can determine whether your message is received or ignored. Avoid words that weaken your position, such as "I think" or "maybe." Instead of saying, "I think you should treat me with more respect," say, "I expect to be treated with respect." The former sounds uncertain, the latter sounds firm. Confidence in language signals confidence in thought. If you believe what you are saying, say it with certainty. Body language also plays a significant role in precise communication. Even if your words are clear, your posture, tone, and facial expressions must align with your message. A person who says, "I won't tolerate being spoken to like that," while looking down and speaking hesitantly, sends a mixed message. On the other hand, someone who maintains eye contact, speaks in a steady tone, and holds an assertive posture reinforces their words with presence. People respond not just to what is said, but to how it is said. Strength in both language and demeanor leaves no room for doubt. Another crucial element of precision is eliminating unnecessary words. Many people dilute their message by over-explaining, justifying, or apologizing for their stance. If you set a boundary, state it simply. Instead of saying, "I'm really sorry, but I just feel like maybe this isn't working for me," say, "This isn't working for me." The first statement is hesitant and invites negotiation. The second is firm and final. The more concise your message, the more impact it carries. When dealing with those who do not respect you, it is also important to ask direct questions. Instead of assuming someone understands your frustration, challenge them to acknowledge it. If someone frequently interrupts you, don't just say, "I don't like being interrupted." Instead, ask, "Why do you feel the need to interrupt me when I speak?" A direct question forces the other person to confront their behavior rather than ignore it. It also places the responsibility on them to explain their actions, shifting the power dynamic in the conversation. Silence, when used correctly, is another tool of precision. Not every statement requires an immediate response. Many people rush to fill silence with unnecessary words, weakening their position. If someone is disrespectful, sometimes the best response is a pause followed by a measured statement. Silence creates tension, and tension demands attention. It forces the other person to reflect on what was just said, rather than dismissing it in the chaos of back and forth arguing. In professional and personal interactions, those who communicate with precision command respect. They do not waste words, they do not over-explain, and they do not allow emotion to dictate their message. Instead, they speak with clarity, confidence, and control. People respect those who know exactly what they want to say and say it with purpose. If you want others to take you seriously, refine your words, deliver them with conviction, and leave no room for misunderstanding.